Hey guys, Eric here, and today we are going to be reading Fire and Frost by Alicia Raids, Chapter 6. I am so sorry for not posting in a while. I actually completely forgot about this channel. Um, so last Saturday I got my nails done. This Saturday I am going to be leaving for Florida, so I will post this week, and I might make a couple of extra videos. I'm going to post as many videos as I can this week just to try and make up for how much I've missed. Yeah, let's get to it. Chapter 6. How could you hide something like this from me? I stared at my mother in disbelief, trying to process what she just said. I wanted to be mad at her for keeping this a secret, but I just couldn't. An expression of guilt fell over my mother's face. She sat across from me at the dining room table, after we'd cleaned up the glass shards. She had just told me the truth about my heritage. As much as some people would run away from the house, screaming that my mother was a crazy person, I believed every word she said. Perhaps it was exposure to the paranormal through her business, even if I always believed her crystal balls and tarot cards were fake. Whatever the reason, I wasn't terrified. It was comforting to know I wasn't actually going crazy. I'm sorry I didn't think you had the gift. I wanted you to live a normal life. What do you mean? Crystal, you have to understand, my mother pleaded, trying to justify her actions. She really didn't need to. I wasn't mad at her. I was just confused. Being psychic is hard. People will hurt you. It's not all rainbows and butterflies. Hurt me? How? She took a deep breath. They'll either think you can give them something you can't, or they'll shun you because you can't do something, because you can do something they can't. Sweetie, my mother said urgently, grabbing my hands across from the table. You can't tell anyone. You know that, right? Why not? Some of them will call you a witch. Others will take advantage of you, she continued. But Mom, you use your gift every year at the Halloween festival, I pointed out. It was odd to think that all the fun she was having didn't originate from the town gossip, but rather from her honest-to-God gifts. Mom averted her gaze from my eyes and curled her mouth up guiltily. Everyone thinks it's just for kicks. Even if you didn't believe I could do it for real. She was right. No one really believed she was a fortune teller. She just played her role well, a woman who wasn't psychic but pretended to be, except that she really was. It's hard for me to turn the page because I got nails. Sorry. What I'm saying, she continued, is that you have to be careful. I'm carefully hiding out in the open where no one will notice. I found that a bit ironic, but she was right. Okay, I agreed. I can be careful, but can I at least tell Emma? My mother sighed. I would advise against it. It's your own choice. But you have to be prepared for the consequences. You have to make sure she doesn't spread it around. I don't want people to hurt you. My mother's eyes brimmed with tears. It took me a few seconds to realize the meaning behind her words. If I told anyone, it would put her secret at risk too. She was giving me that choice, which is something I really respected and appreciated. Mom, Emma's not like that. I know. I'm so sorry I didn't tell you, but you understand, right? did I not show any psychic tendencies? I could see it in my mother's eyes that she was looking into the past. Do you remember your imaginary friend, Ava? Of course I remember her. When you first mentioned her, I was happy and devastated at the same time. At one level, I wanted to share so much with you about the gift, but on another, I wanted you to live a normal life away from the supernatural. When I asked you if Eva was real, you said she wasn't and that you made her up. I assumed that she really was a figment of your imagination. It's not uncommon for children, especially those without siblings, to create imaginary friends at that age. My mouth fell open in disbelief. I remembered the moment she was talking about. I had been in my room having a tea party with Eva when my mother knocked on my door. "Who are you talking to, sweetheart?" she said. "Eva," I said in my high 4-year-old voice. My mother bent down beside my chair. "Sweetheart, who's Eva?" "Eva's my friend." "Where is Eva?" "Right there." I pointed to the chair across from me. I knew my mother's expression, that she didn't see Eva. My first friend, my own age. In fact, I knew that no one else could see Eva because none of the other kids at daycare could. When I asked my babysitter if she could save me a seat for Eva at lunch, she had a long talk with me about how Eva wasn't real and I was imagining her. She told me that it wasn't healthy to have imaginary friends, and that I should play with other kids at daycare. So when my mother looked me straight in the eyes and asked me if I believed Eva was real, I put on my best lying face and told her no. I had made Eva up. It was the only time I can remember blatantly lying to her. I told you she was real because I thought I would get in trouble if I believed it, I told my mother. She smiled at me across the dinner table. Sorry. Then my mother erupted into laughter. I simply stared at her for a moment, unsure of what was so funny. When she didn't stop, I joined in the laughter. After that, my mother admitted, "You never really gave me the reason to believe you had a gift." I almost thought you were psychic when you guessed your birthday presents before you opened them. Remember on your 8th birthday, you were so accurate, but then I figured you peeked before I had a chance to wrap them. I didn't want to ruin your fun, so I didn't say anything. I had never peeked. There were other times when I thought maybe, but then I convinced myself I was looking for reasons to tell you about our gift. Memories flooded back into my mind, and suddenly, so much more of my life made sense. I guess I must have hid a lot from you. Like what? I picked at my fingernails and kept my head low. Like what? She prodded. "You know when Dad died? You saw his ghost?" She squealed in shock. I was taken aback by this statement because it never occurred that my father roamed the world as a ghost. A ghost? No. Is that what Eva was? A ghost? My mother stared into the distance for a moment. Most likely. She could have been your spirit guide, but I'm guessing she was just a lonely girl who needed someone to play with. My spirit guide? Everyone has one. They're like angels who guide you in the choices you make in life. I speak to my spirit guide all the time. My spirit guide. I have had psychic visions in the past, but I've never spoken with a spirit guide. What happened to with Dad? My mother asked. Well, before he died, I started reluctantly. I dreamt of the accident before you ever told me about it. My mother gasped. You saw your father die before it happened. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I always thought it was just a coincidence. Do you think it was a vision? My mother's lips pressed together deep in thought. I gave her a moment to digest this. Her next words came out as a whisper. Do you know what this means? No, I whispered back. Where was she going with this? Crystal, there are different types of psychics. Some can predict the futures, others can see the past. Some sidekicks see ghosts while others hear voices. Do you see where I'm going with this? No, I admitted. Crystal, most people don't just see spirits and predict the future. I mean, we can communicate with them. It's easier in numbers, and that's why. Oh my god, I can't pronounce it. Senseis, seances, I don't know how to pronounce it, work. But rarely do people like me see them. You clearly have an amazing ability. More amazing than any of us could have predicted. What else should I know? I thought for a moment. That's pretty much it. I can usually tell who's calling before I check the caller ID, but I always wrote that off as luck. Besides, you don't need to be psychic to know who's calling these days. My mother smiled at this. I continued, I always know when it's going to rain, but I took that as a sign I would make a great meteorologist. My mother smiled at this. I continued, I always know when. Oh, wait. I went back. My mom laughed. Anything else? I froze. I knew she would believe me, but saying it out loud made me feel like I had to admit it. It was real. But it was, wasn't it? I took a deep breath. I've seen Olivia Owen's ghost 3 times now. My mother didn't call me crazy, and she wasn't about to contact the mental institution either. 3 times? Yeah, I saw her at school Thursday morning, and the volleyball game in the break room last night. You saw her last night? It wasn't a question. You only a statement to mull the idea over. Yeah. When I went to go to get money from you, I clarified even though I didn't need to. Are you sure? Yes. Why? Was she grilling me? Why was she grilling me? Why? She closed her eyes to soothe herself. We've been trying to contact Olivia for weeks, but we couldn't get through to her. Why was my mother trying to contact Olivia? Is Olivia in trouble? Maybe, my mom started, but then she was cut off by a sound at the front door opening. Teddy was here already. We'll talk later. Before Teddy came too far into the house, Mom added with a whisper, Teddy doesn't know. Teddy entered the kitchen and looked from me to my mother and back again. As we shot him stares of our own. He held his hands up in defense. Whatever girl talk stuff is going on here, I don't care to know. That was chapter 6. That was one of the shorter chapters. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.